Hi guys, this is a video from my advanced math students. We're going to be doing lesson 76. Actually, we're only going to be doing the last part of lesson 76 on page 375. That's 76C, triangular inequalities. And I'm actually going to do my kind of the instruction of that after we do the very first example. So I'll go over to page 376, and it says the first example is the triangle whose sides are 3, 4, and 5 a right triangle, an acute triangle, or an obtuse triangle. Now, probably you know that already. Just you should be familiar with the fact with a 3, 4, 5 triangle. If you're not, don't worry about it. Let's say you weren't familiar with the 3, 4, 5 triangle, which is a very commonly used right triangle. So I'm letting the cat out of the bag right there. I've already told you it's a right triangle. But how do you know that? Pythagorean theorem says your two short sides, if you square them and then add them together, they will equal the square of the longer side, the hypotenuse. We're not calling it a hypotenuse right now because we're assuming you didn't know it was a right triangle. So you would do the work. You'd get 9 plus 16 and equals 25. You add those together and you get 25 equals 25. If you get the same on both sides of the equation, you know you've got a right triangle. What this lesson is focusing around is whether you have a right triangle or whether you have an obtuse triangle or an acute triangle. If they give you the sides, how do you know which it is? If you didn't know about the 3, 4, 5 triangle, you do the math, and yes, 25 equals 25. You have a right triangle. Now, before we go any further, just going way back to geometry, in every triangle, first of all, the sum of the two shorter sides, or any two sides, must be greater than the third side. So you could have like a 5, 6, but you could not have a side of 12 over there, or even of 11. 5 plus 6 is 11. Your third side must be less than 11. So this could not work. That just goes back a little bit. Now, we're not talking about whether you can make a triangle or not. We're talking about whether it's right, obtuse, or acute. So we've just done the first example, and we see that it's an acute triangle. If you go back to page 375, about 1/3 of the way down the page, there is a list of some new information. I have it written backwards from what they do. In fact, I've got it written in reverse order. But if you have that the two sides squared equals the third side squared, that's a right triangle. We know that. Pythagorean theorem. If the two sides squared and then added together are less than the third side, then that's the second one. That's an obtuse. And if the two added together are greater than the third side, you've got an acute. Now let's think about that for a second, why that's true. Let's go back to this 3, 4, 5 triangle, which gave us an acute triangle. If we go smaller, let's make this 4 into a 3, okay? Or actually, we'll make this 2 into a 3 into a 2. Let's do 2 squared plus 4 squared, and we don't know. This will be a question mark right here, and 5 squared. Well, if we look at a 3, 4, 5 triangle, if I make this side shorter and I bring it down to here, and then I bring this hypotenuse down, that side is going to have to stick out further like that. Now that's only 2, 4, 5. There you can see that you've made an obtuse triangle. Let's show it up here. 2 squared is 4. 4 squared is 16. 5 squared, 25. 20 is less than 25. That's going to give me an obtuse triangle. Let's keep this same thing again. Let's say we increased this side and we made it a 4, 4, 5 triangle. Well, we've increased that side from 3 to 4. It's gone up, and it makes it into this acute. Let's show it. 4 squared plus 4 squared, and we don't know, 5 squared. 16 plus 16, 25. 32 is greater than 25. So there you've got an acute triangle. So you look at the second example on page 376. It says classify a 475. Now don't, it says, here I'll switch colors. We'll go to green. It says do a 4, 7, 5 triangle. Don't go 4 squared plus 7 squared. Is it greater than 5 squared? You always have to do your two shorter sides. 4 squared plus 5 squared. Is it greater than, or is it less than 7 squared? Well, that's 16 plus 25. Over here, 49. 16 plus 25 is 41. 41 is less than 49. If it's less than, then this tells you we have an obtuse triangle. There you have it. There's a bad glare on there. Sorry, that's coming from the computer itself. There's the lesson numbers, and I'll put them on the website too. See you guys soon. Oh, by the way, this is at my mother's house in Missouri. In fact, all that rumbling you hear in the background is her opening drapes and stuff like that. I said, don't come in here going, what? What? Who are you talking to? Had to deal with that first. Had to edit some, had to get rid of an earlier video. All right. See you guys later. Bye.